Today we'll be taking up December 2020 examination paper. Corporate accounting paper only will be covering. Corporate accounting, as I told you, covers only 60 marker, right? Corporate and management accounting is the paper. 60 for corporate accounting, 40 for management accounting. Today's session will be covering the corporate accounting part. So let's get started without wasting time. First, current assets are those assets of what? Current assets, we know the funda. Four features. One, it should be a cash or cash equivalent held for trading purpose. It must be it is expected to get realized within 12 months from the balance sheet date, realized within operating cycle. These are the four features. So which option is the most convenient? Look at the last one. It is held for conversion into cash within operating cycle or a period of 12 months. Others all have 12 months operating cycle, etc. etc. Among these four options, D seems to be the most convenient or the better preferred option. So D for Delhi is the right option. Current assets means those which will realize within operating cycle or within 12 months from the balance sheet date. They have not given balance sheet date, it is fine, within 12 months. So Delhi is the right option. Okay. The figures appearing in financial statements may be rounded off. Round off provision, which we had already showed you in the chart. To retrace your memory, this is our round off provision. If turnover is less than 100 crore, then you can round it off to the hundreds, thousands, lakhs or millions. Maximum you can round off is up to millions. Only if your turnover is greater than 100 crore, then only there is a possibility to round it off in crores. If you want to present financial statement in crores, then your turnover has to be at least 100 crores. Okay, so that is this question about. The figures appearing in financial statement may be rounded off to the nearest crore. You can prepare financial statement in crore only if turnover is 100 crores or more. So B for Bengaluru is the right option. Only if your turnover is 100 crore or more, then you can prepare financial statements in crore. Like let's say if you have turnover of 1000 crores, then instead of writing full value, you can just write in the amount column 1000 and say all the amounts are in crore. So this is your round off provision they are talking about. Bengaluru. Okay, third question. Which of the following is correct? About sweat equity shares, they are asking, what is the maximum limit of sweat equity shares, sir? We have already discussed this. That is, you can issue sweat equity shares to the extent of 15% of the paid up capital or 5 crores, whichever is higher. 15% of the existing paid up equity capital or of the value 5 crores, whichever is higher. Yes, A ka alpha is the right option for sweat equity shares. Once we find the right answer, we don't have to even read the other options. Okay, yes. So 3 questions are done. Financial statements are used by whom? Investors, creditors, regulators, all of the above. Financial statements can be used by everybody. So D for Delhi, all of the above is the right answer. Correct. 4 questions done, another 56 more to go. That's all. Escrow accounts under SEBI does not include what? We remember that escrow you need to deposit. I'll show you in the chart to retrace your memory. There are 4 ways in which you can place the deposit we are told in our chart. That is, either you can put the escrow in scheduled commercial bank or bank guarantee in favor of a merchant banker or approved securities you can deposit with appropriate margin with a merchant banker or in any combination. We have done this question also. So anything is acceptable. So question is based on this particular provision. What are they asking? The escrow account does not include what? Does it include cash deposited with scheduled commercial bank? Yes. Bank guarantee in favor of merchant banker? Yes. Acceptable security with appropriate margin with merchant banker? Yes. Deposit of acceptable security with appropriate margin with company? No. Any random company you cannot deposit or you cannot keep it with yourself. This it does not include. The regulation does not say. So D for Delhi is the ruled out option. They are saying which does not include. So D is the ruled out one. So that is the right option. Okay. Alright. Every company having a net worth of dash shall constitute CSR committee. For you to constitute CSR committee, there was 3 limits. What are those? Turnover greater than 1000 crores. Net worth of 500 crores or more. Net profit of 5 crores or more. Chart ka this provision. Yes, that's what the question is based on. CSR committee you will do when turnover 1000 crores or more, net worth 500 crores or more, paid a profit of 5 crores or more. So they're asking you the net worth limit for forming a CSR. If net worth crosses 500 crores or more, then only you'll go ahead and form the CSR. How to remember? It is same as Ind AS. You know, Ind AS applicability we have discussed in chapter number 12. Yes, in the 1 or 2 sessions before only. Same net worth limit. There also, right? Ind AS you will start applying from 1st April 2016 for normal companies. If net worth is 500 crores or more. Yes, here also for CSR committee, same funda. Done? Okay. So next, 7th question. On 30th June 2018, 2/3 of the shares of S Limited with a total capital of 48 lakh was acquired by H Limited. 2/3 means, can I say it is 66.67%, sir? If you calculate 2 by 3 in your calculator, if you do, you're going to get 66.67%. So, H Limited has purchased 2,000 or 2/3 of the shares of S Limited. That means, did H Limited get control, sir? With 2/3 shares, will you get majority or will you get control? Very much yes. That means H is the holding company, S is your subsidiary company. So consolidation question this is. They've asked one question on consolidation. Let's see what they're trying to ask. So holding company has acquired 2,000 shares of 2/3 shares of subsidiary company. Subsidiary ka share capital they are telling it to be 48 lakhs. Okay. The balance sheet of S Limited, that is subsidiary company, showed a debit balance of 24 lakh on 1st January 2018. Actually, there is a typo over here. What they should have told, one keyword there they should have inserted here is, the balance sheet of S Limited showed P&L debit balance of. Okay, there is a typo in this question. They forgot to print that word. Profit and loss account had a debit balance of 24 lakh is what they are trying to say. Debit balance in P&L means it's a profit, guys, or it's a loss. P&L account, if it is having a debit balance, means it's a profit or it's a loss. It's a loss. Yes. So P&L is having a debit balance, meaning a loss of 24 lakh on 1st January 2018. They've given 1st Jan, maybe because this company is following the calendar year. They're following Jan to December as their financial years. And credit balance of 14,40,000 as on 14,40,000 on 31st December 2018. So opening balance was loss, closing balance actually is profit. Okay. So maybe in the last years and all, company had made a loss. Current year, the company made a profit. Hence, from debit balance, P&L became credit balance. So let's see. Investment in H Limited in shares of S Limited is 36 lakh rupees. Meaning, H purchased this 2/3 of the shares of subsidiary company by paying 36 lakh rupees. So they have given cost of investment, sir. To buy this 2/3 stake, H Limited holding company spent about 36 lakh rupees. Calculate the cost of control in this acquisition. Cost of control ka another name is what? Goodwill, right? So they're asking you to compute goodwill, that's all. Okay, we had a small structure, do you remember? What is that structure to calculate goodwill? If I have to put it up here, how do you get goodwill is also known as cost of control only, correct? Remember the working in consolidation or forgotten? You should be able to remember, right? It's not that long ago also. First we take cost of investment, which in the problem they have given. What is the cost of investment? 36 lakh. From this we have to deduct a few things. What are those? Deduct the first thing, that is H share in the share capital, correct? Holding company's share in the share capital of subsidiary company. Subsidiary ka total share capital is how much, sir? 48 lakh rupees is the total share capital of subsidiary company. But holdings owns only 2/3. So 16 3s are 48. So 16 2s are 32. So the share capital of, or the holding company's share in the share capital is, if you calculate this, your calculator would be showing 32 lakh rupees. Manageable. This is one. From this, we also deduct pre-acquisition profit. Yes, meaning H Limited share in pre-acquisition profits. If it is profit, you will deduct. You know why this question is important? I would mark this question as important. Why? Because one new concept that they are testing. What is that new concept? Sir, is it pre-acquisition profits? See, if it is pre-acquisition profit, you will deduct it. Here, is it a pre-acquisition profit or it's a loss? It's a loss, right? They're testing the loss portion. That means if it is pre-acquisition profit, means you will deduct. If it is pre-acquisition loss, means ulta treatment, meaning adding back. So that is one extra fitting over here. H Limited share in pre-acquisition loss is also there. If you want, you can find out. You can net off this number, pre-acquisition profit and loss. You can net it off and get one final number. But for simplicity now, I'll treat both of them separately and see, because there are both. Let's work it out like that. And if there is any pre-acquisition dividend also, you will deduct. Yes, that also I've discussed with you. If there is a pre-acquisition dividend also, it needs to be deducted. I told you this is as per accounting standard 13 ka treatment. That we read the problem, we didn't find anything. After doing all this, you're going to get the goodwill or cost of control. So that is your last step. This is what they are testing. We have done enough problem like this in our classwork. Here the only extra fitting is the loss portion. That's it. So let's calculate that maybe. First of all, when did H Limited acquire the share, sir? When did H Limited buy the share? On 30th June 2018. So on 30th June 2018, H Limited bought the shares in S Limited. So current year they told company is not following April to March wala financial year here. They said at the beginning of the year on 1st January, P&L had a debit balance, and on 31st December, it is having this much balance. That means here the company is following calendar year as their financial year. So year will begin on 1st January 2018 and it will end on 31st December 2018. Okay. Now, H Limited acquired the shares on 30th June. So any profit made by subsidiary company before 30th June, if a subsidiary company had any profit or any reserve before holding company bought the share, that only we call it as what? Pre-acquisition profits. Yes, no? Okay. Now they have given P&L balance, P&L debit balance on 1st January 2018. How much is that? P&L debit balance is 24 lakh rupees. Now you guys tell me, sir, is this a pre-acquisition or a post-acquisition? P&L debit balance on 1st January. H Limited became shareholder after 6 months. That is on 30th June. So before H Limited became shareholder only, this P&L debit balance is existing. That means, can I say this is a pre-acquisition, not profit, but it is a pre-acquisition loss. Okay. So this is the pre-acquisition loss I'm talking about. If it is pre-acquisition profit, you will deduct. If it is pre-acquisition loss, means add back. What is the pre-acquisition loss? Just now we found out. It is 24 lakh rupees. Okay. Entire 24 lakh belongs to holding company? No. Total loss is 24 lakh. H Limited ka share is 2/3. 3 8s are, so 8 2s are. So 16 lakh is pre-acquisition loss you need to consider. This is the only extra fitting in this particular problem. Other than that, everything is ditto. No change at all. Okay. So this is the funda. Next, check, sir. P&L credit balance they told on 31st December 2018. Opening balance was debit. But at the end of the year, no, miraculously it became credit balance of 14 lakh 40,000. 14.4 lakh, it became a credit balance. That means what happened here? Year beginning it was a loss of 24 lakh. That means minus 24 lakh. From minus 24 it reached 0. Then it became plus 14.4 lakh. From minus 24, sir, it became plus 14.4 lakh profit. That means what happened in the current year? can I say the company made a current year profit of 24 lakh plus 14.4 lakh, which is 38.4 lakh? For the whole year, company has made a profit of 38 lakh 40,000. That is the reason your P&L is having a credit balance of 14.4. Like 24 lakh debit, 38.4 lakh credit. If you do, then only you're going to get 14 lakh 40,000 credit. No? Everybody okay with this? Everybody okay with this calculation? So current year company has made a profit of 38 lakh 40,000. That is what indirectly they are telling you. Current year, whole year, it is 38 lakh 40,000. Profit for the whole year. Huh? Whole year means from 1st Jan to 31st December. But H Limited became a shareholder only on 30th June. That means profit from 1st Jan 2018 to 30th June 2018 will be how much, sir? Because this is pre-acquisition period, no? H Limited owned the share only on 30th June. So any profit before that is pre. Profit for the whole year is 38 lakh 40,000. That means 38 lakh 40,000 is a profit for 12 months, whole year. From 1st Jan to 30th June, if you count, Jan, Feb, March, April, May, June. Only how many months, sir? 6 months. For 6 months, how much it will be? 19 lakh 20,000. So 19 lakh 20,000 is a profit for this period. You tell me, this is what sort of profit? Pre-acquisition profit or post-acquisition profit or pre-acquisition loss? No, it can't be loss. It's a profit only, yes. But it is a pre-acquisition profit again. So that is what we have considered over here. Pre-acquisition profit. Got it? So basically, directly we can calculate it if you want. If you don't want to put up the whole working note, total profit is 38 lakh 40,000 into 6 by 12. If you do, you're going to get 6 months ka profit. In that, holding ka share is 2/3. If you do 38 lakh 40,000 into 6 by 12, you're going to end up getting 19 lakh 20,000. In 19 lakh 20,000, holding company ka share is 2/3. So how much will be that? 19 lakh 20,000 into 2 by 3. If you calculate, you're going to get 12 lakh 80,000. So I would set off these two and take one number. Yes, you can do so. Okay. Basically, this much is pre-acquisition profit. There is pre-acquisition loss also. You can set off and do one calculation also if you want. That is acceptable. Answer will be same also. But just to give you a little clarity, I have showed both pre-acquisition profit and loss separately in this case. That's all. If you do the calculation, finally, what are you getting, sir? 36 lakh plus, this is minus 12 lakh 80,000. 36 lakh plus 16 lakh minus 32 lakh minus 12.8. If you do, you're getting a final number of 7 lakh 20,000. You're getting a positive number. So it's a case of a goodwill, also known as cost of control. So 7 lakh 20,000 is the option. Okay. They have hardly asked 4 or 5 numerical question in this attempt. Okay. In this, maybe this is one important or time consuming question. Rest everything, most 90% of this attempt ka paper question was straightforward theory. Straightforward theory. Nothing like about calculation per se. Loss is also pre-acquisition, right, sir? So we should divide for 6 months, right? Yeah, no, that's what. Check here. They have given pre-acquisition loss of 24 lakh, correct? That already there, nobody. Pranita, getting it? On 24 lakh, you already have made this loss. So here, why am I prorating? Why am I calculating 6 months, 6 by 12 over here? Because you have the profit. This 38 lakh 40,000 is a profit for the whole year. I want it only for pre-acquisition period. My pre-acquisition period is only from this date, from 1st Jan to 30th June. Hence, I did 6 by 12 here. Your question is, sir, why are you not doing on 24 lakh 6 by 12? I don't have to prorate this number. Why? 24 lakh is the loss balance on 1st January. On 1st January, was I a shareholder? No, I became shareholder only on 30th June. So any balance on 1st January is a pre-acquisition profit or loss only. That anyway they've given straightforward. So prorating that would be wrong. Got the funda? Is it okay? Here, this 38 lakh 40,000 includes both pre and post, because first 6 months is pre, next 6 months is post. Hence, to find out pre, I did 6 by 12. For the other one, it is not required. Good question. Hope I've answered. Okay, cool. So she's saying it's done. So we'll move on to the next question then. 8th question. Caro 2016 is applicable for which all companies, sir? Caro ka funda, if you remember. Caro is applicable for all the companies except banking company, insurance company, company established for charitable reasons, one person company, and private company with certain limits. 110, we used to remember that in the chart, if you remember. I can show you the chart also for your reference. This one, Caro ka thing. So this question is based on our chart ka, that particular funda. Caro is applicable to which company? Banking company, is it applicable to? No. One person company? No. Company is registered for charitable purpose? No. Foreign companies? Yes. They have not excluded foreign companies under Caro. They have given exceptions only to few companies. That exceptions does not apply to foreign companies. So D for Delhi is the right option. Caro stands for Companies Audit Report Order. Caro 2016. Okay. Fair enough. Alright. If any of the audience, if you are interested to buy these charts, okay, so you can go to our website, that is learn.arivopro.com. Okay, if you are able to go into that, and you can go into select CS and select CS Executive and select books. Under books, you will be able to select the subject corporate accounting printed book and select chart or revision book. You'll be able to add it to the cart and purchase it. In case any one of your audience is looking for that, you can do so. It's available on learn.arivopro.com. Okay, coming back to the topic. Question number 9. On 31st March 2019, X Limited has 8% fixed deposit. Date of fixed deposit is 1st March. Maturing on 31st May. So you have made the fixed deposit on 1st March. It is maturing on 31st May. Same year, both 2019. That means how many months are you making this fixed deposit, sir? March, April, May. How many months? 3 months. Yes. Sir, if you are making any investment for a period lesser than 3 months, what do we call such an investment as? Do we show it under investing activity, or will we show it as a cash equivalent in cash flow statement? Any investment made for a period lesser than 3 months, which has insignificant value change risk, correct? Which has insignificant value change risk or convertible into known amounts of cash. All this we treated as cash equivalents. Yes. Question is based on that particular concept. Cash equivalent wala concept. Let's see. So this fixed deposit is a cash equivalent. Interest received is on a monthly basis. While preparing cash flow statement as stipulated in Accounting Standard 3, they are asking interest will be added to net profit while calculating cash flow after tax from operating activity. 3 lakh will be treated as cash outflow in investing activity. Both A and B, none of the above. None of the above is the answer, because we don't do any of this adjustment. The interest and the investment will be treated as a cash equivalent. It will not come under operating activity, investing activity, financing activity, nowhere. It will come under a separate category known as cash equivalent. Hence, the right option is D, none of the above, because cash equivalent is not specified. And this is a cash equivalent. Got it? Yes, many students will not have the heart to select that none of the above option, but conceptually you be clear. If you feel nothing is working out, select none of the above, bindas. Okay, even that is also a right answer. Let that sink into your mind also. Okay. Okay, next question is, which of the following is a small and medium sized company, SMC, as per the company's rules of 2006? 1. First option, which they're saying is an SMC. Okay, they've given various companies. In that, you need to find out which is an SMC. X Limited has appointed a merchant banker like Citibank, Morgan Stanley, etc., etc., to prepare the prospectus for the purpose of filing the same with SEBI. So that means X is in the process of listing. So if you are already listed or if you are in the process of listing, then you cannot be an SMC. There is a specific prohibition on that. So you'll not be considered as an SMC and you will not get any benefits. So first one, it's not the right one. Z Private Limited acquired 51% equity in a listed company. One of the rule for you to be an SMC is you should not have any holding or subsidiary company which is non-SMC. Here you have a holding, Z Private Limited is a holding company of another company. Z Limited, let's say, has 51% of, let's say, X Limited. X company they are saying is a listed company. If any company is listed, it means it is not an SMC. So meaning it is non-SMC. So one of the criteria for this company, Z Limited, to be an SMC is they should not have any holding or subsidiary company, which is a non-SMC. Here Z Limited has a subsidiary company, which is a non-SMC because it is listed. Hence, this also cannot be the right option. C also is ruled out. Z Private Limited has a turnover of 55 crores, including other income. Generally, other income is excluded for turnover limit. So, turnover will be taken as 55 crore minus other income of 5 crores. So, the actual turnover is only 50 crores. So, one of the conditions for SMC is the turnover should not cross 50 crore. Here, it is not crossing 50 crore. It is within the limit. And secured loan from the bank is 10 crore and public deposits is 1 crore. Sir, what is that total borrowings then? What is that total borrowing? 10 crore plus 1 crore, which is 11 crore. One of the condition for SMC is the borrowing should not cross 10 crore. Here it is crossing. That means this also is not an SMC. So what remains? Actually B. Let's see B. Y Private Limited is engaged only in insurance broking business. They are not an insurance company. They are a brokerage firm who are helping the insurance company to sell their policies to the public. Y Private Limited is not into insurance company. They are a brokerage firm who is helping. Like you are an LIC ka broker. One insurance company ka brokers we are. But we are not doing any insurance business. Because there is a clear-cut prohibition that SMC company should not be a bank or a insurance company. Here, Y Private Limited is not an insurance company. It is only having an insurance broking business. Okay, brokerage. Okay, so that means we are not into that. With a turnover of 55 crores, including other income. So, excluding other income, turnover is only 50 crore. And unsecured loan and secured loan from bank is about 9 crore rupees. And public deposits is 1 crore. GST is 1 crore. GST is not your loan. You have collected it and you're going to repay it off. You're only going to take the other than GST portion. So secured loan is 9 crore. Public deposits is 1 crore. That means the borrowing is 10 crore only. So turnover is not crossing 50 crore. Borrowing is not crossing 10 crore. So that means the only SMC company or the only viable option in this is B for Bengaluru. So that is the right option. Again, a little good question in my view about this. Okay. It's not a straightforward one. You need to be a little bit aware of the provision. So the 10th one, you can mark it as important. Okay. Done. 11th question. Satyam Vada Dharmam Chara is the motto of our institute. Motto of ICSI. See, that also they are asking in accounts paper. Don't forget the motto and all. Okay. Done. Question 12. Under IND AS 1, the first standard, presentation of any income or expense as an extraordinary item. Sir, only accounting standard has a concept of extraordinary item. In IND AS or IFRS, there is nothing like extraordinary item. Okay. So this concept is not there in IND AS. So that's what they're saying. Any item of income and expenditure, can you present it as extraordinary item? No, clearly it is prohibited. There is no extraordinary item in IND AS. Everything is considered as normal part. So separate disclosure of extraordinary item, not necessary as per the IND AS. So see, for Chennai, prohibited is the right answer. Okay. A person who owes the money to the business, somebody who has to pay money to the business is what? A debtor, creditor, investor, promoter. Somebody from whom, if you have to collect the money, means that person becomes our debtor. No? So A for debtor is the right option there. Okay. A company shall disclose by the way of notes additional information regarding aggregate expenditure and income on of any item or income and expenditure which exceeds 1% of revenue from operations or 1 lakh whichever is higher, 1% of revenue or 1 lakh whichever is lower, 1% of revenue or 10 lakh whichever is higher, 1% of revenue or 10 lakh whichever is lower. This one I had discussed with you. Okay, can you tell me which is the right option here? I told if any income or expenditure in AS5 I had discussed this. If any item of income and expenditure, if it is 1% of revenue or 1 lakh, you need to separately give information about that. Yes, either on the face of the P&L or in notes to accounts. So this is the right option, A for alpha, which we had discussed in Accounting Standard 5 if you remember. Okay, done. If articles of association is silent regarding interest on calls in arrears, the minimum rate of interest which can be charged on calls in arrears is how much? Concentrate on the word minimum and then tell me the right answer. Let's see. Minimum. What according to you is the right answer? 10% is not. I expected that answer. 10% is as per table F. If article is silent, if you want to adopt table F, you can take 10%. 10% is not minimum rate, sir. 10% is the maximum rate. Here they are not asking maximum rates. You have underlined. They are asking you the minimum rate. Is there any minimum rate which is specified? No. An article is also silent. That means there is no minimum rate. None of the above is the right answer. Majority of them would have selected either 10 or 12 and done. Okay. Here it is not. Okay. They are asking minimum rate, not the maximum. Watch out. One word they played around. If they had used the word table F and maximum, then 10% what you're saying is right. But here they're not using specifying table F. No, and clearly they're asking minimum rate. There is no minimum stipulated rate. They're asking there is a maximum stipulation rate, not the minimum one. Okay. So yeah, this also you can mark it as important just because of this trickiness word use, that is minimum. Which of the following is not a method of redeeming a debenture? Can you redeem the debenture in lump sum? Meaning in one shot, can you redeem the debenture? Yes. Can you redeem the debenture in installment? Yes. 10% every year if you want, you can redeem it over 10 years or 20% over 5 years. Like this, you can do it in installment. Accepted. Can you purchase your own debentures from the open market and immediately cancel it? Yes. We have done the question on that also, where we learnt about the concept known as X interest and cum interest. Correct? So this is all, these are method of redeeming the debentures. That means automatically which is the right option? D. Why? By conversion into short-term loans. No. You can redeem the debentures by converting into shares. You can convert it into shares. That is one of the method of redeeming the debentures. Not to convert it into short-term loan again. So that is not the one. Okay. So D for Delhi is the right option for 16th. Okay. So all these we have done, okay? So I'll just move forward after selecting. If you have any doubt, you don't hesitate, you can post it, fine? But all these are repetitive, so I'll keep on moving. So I'll not wait for you to reciprocate on the regard, okay? Fine? Any doubts? Please don't mind or hesitate to post it. I can take it up. Done? Every company required to calculate and maintain debenture redemption reserve, DRR, shall before 30th day of April of each year deposit or invest, as the case may be, at least dash percentage of the amount of debentures maturing during the year ended 31st March next year, prescribe more. They're asking how much is your DRR investment, sir? Your DRR requirement is 25% of outstanding debenture. They're not asking DRR. They're asking how much of DRR investment you have to make. What is a DRR investment? Perfect. 15%. 15% of what? The debentures that are getting redeemed in the current year. If any debentures are getting redeemed in the current year, 15% of that value you should deposit. Yes, as DRR. So the answer is Chennai. 15% is the answer. That's all. Okay. Every non-listed public company must have at least one woman director. They're asking woman director ka provision, 149 if you remember section. Yes. If the paid up capital is at least 100 crore, correct? Turnover at least 100 crore. No. Turnover ka limit is not 100. Turnover ka limit is 300 crore. Yes. Paid up you will appoint woman director if paid up capital is 100 crores or more. Turnover is 300 crores or more. So is this the right option? No, they use the turnover as 100. So this can't be the right option. Aggregate outstanding 50 crore, that they have not specified. Only two conditions. Turnover, paid up capital. That means which is the right option? A for alpha. If the paid up capital is 100 crores or more, then as per section 149, you are required to appoint the woman director. Perfect. So A for alpha is the right option there. Called out here also if you want, if you've forgotten. Here we had written. Remember 149 1 ka section? This is the funda. Okay. Just showing you the chart just for better clarity. That's it. Done. Next, 19th. The areas of corporate governance include in Companies Act what? As per corporate governance, you did a series of reforms, no? Independent director, woman director, audit committee you appointed, serious fraud investigation you appointed. Like this, you did many things, no? In that, they are asking you. As per corporate governance, what and all did you do? Did you go for independent directors? Yes. Woman director? Yes. CSR? Yes. Audit committee? Yes. Remuneration committee, stakeholder relationship committee? Yes, that also. So that means all of the above was introduced as to catch hold of the company, to make the management and the auditors more responsible, more accountable, so that public money and is safe and financial statement becomes more reliable. So all of these are measures as part of corporate governance. So D for Delhi is the right option. Next, which of the following is not a cash flow for a company? Is dividend a cash flow? Yes. Dividend paid is a financing activity. Dividend received is an investing activity for a normal company. So it is a cash flow. Proceeds from the issue of share capital? Yes. Whenever company issues shares, it will receive money. So it is a cash flow item. They are asking which is not a cash flow item. Interest payment? Yes, when you pay interest, obviously cash or check bank balance will reduce. Again, interest component. That means the only remaining is C. Amortization of preliminary expense. So transferring preliminary expense to P&L only, we call it as amortization. Yes, some preliminary expense, you're transferring it off to P&L. Is that a cash item? No, all these are non-cash expenses. Yes, we've already done this in cash flow statement. Depreciation, amortization, preliminary expense written off, deferred revenue expenditures written off. All this you will add back because they are non-cash. Yes. So C for Chennai is the right option there. Next, AS3, Accounting Standard 3 for cash flow statement, Accounting Standard 17, which talks about segment reporting, are not applicable in its entirety to which company? Level 2 entities, Level 3 entities, SMC, all of the above now. All of the above have this exemption. Yes, correct. In fact, AS17 is not entirely applicable, excluded for SMC. They get a partial exemption. So according to me, this question ka framing is wrong. Level 2, Level 3 have complete exemption from AS3 and 17. SMC have complete exemption only from AS3. From AS17, they have a partial exemption. But still, considering Level 2, Level 3 are also there. So all of the above in this particular question seems to be the most appropriate answer. So Delhi is the right option. Okay. Don't forget, Level 2 and Level 3 entities also work on same par with SMC. So they also get the same benefit. So all of the above is the right answer. Done. Okay. Next, IASB stands for International Accounting Standard Board. Which option is that? International Accounting Standard Board. So C for Chennai is the right option. Perfect. Correct. 23. The structure of IFRS Foundation consists of what? IFRS Foundation has few things. That is IFRS International Accounting Standard Board, IASB. In fact, see, this is a giveaway answer. They told IASB stands for what? Here they only given IASB ka full form. So one grace mark institute gave it right away only. So this one, even if you don't know, you should have got the right answer for that. Because here only they mentioned. International Accounting Standard Board is IASB. IFRS Foundation Trustees, IFRS Foundation Monetary Board. So structure of IFRS foundation has all this. So alpha is the right option. Okay. This is something again you need to remember. 24. Ind AS 20 on government grants requires government grants in the nature of promoters' contribution to be credited to capital reserve as part of shareholders' funds, to be recognized in income over the periods, not to be recognized either A or B. What is it? We have discussed accounting standard AS 12. As per accounting standard 12, if any government grant if you are receiving which is in the nature of capital or promoter's contribution, I told you transfer that to capital reserve. But I told you Ind AS does not have that provision. Clearly I had mentioned you this. Okay. In Ind AS there is nothing like capital reserve and all. Every government grant will go to P&L. The question is, will it go immediately or will you defer it over a period of time? Okay. So the guided answer given for this is Chennai C. But I would say, the most appropriate answer would have been it goes to P&L. The question is whether it go to P&L immediately or over a period of time. If government does not put any condition, they said take the grant, that's it. You have already fulfilled the condition, so I am giving you the grant. If that is the case, means it goes to P&L immediately. If the government says, here is 10 lakh rupees government grant, you have to comply some conditions. That condition you have to fulfill it over, let's say 4 years. Then the grant of 10 lakh what you receive has to be amortized or has to be spread across 4 years. If condition is not there or if you have already complied, it goes to P&L immediately as per Ind AS. If there is condition to be fulfilled, let's say that condition fulfillment takes about 4 years, assumption. It could be any years. If it is 4, then this grant will be amortized over 4 years. Okay. So most appropriate answer in my view would have been B for Bengaluru. Okay. But it is debatable. They have given C as a guided answer, not to be recognized. I personally don't agree with this. I feel B would have been much more appropriate answer because you will recognize it. The only question is, will it go to P&L immediately or will it go to income or P&L over a period of time? So in my opinion, this is a better option. But if you check guided answer, they've selected this. According to me, this is a typo. So I feel B should be the right answer. This is my opinion. Okay, this is where I differ. Okay, but I've given you the guided answer also. You are free to choose what you feel is according to you. Okay, or better go with guided answer. Alright, because for the marks you never know what comes in on. Okay, so go with guided answer. But the actual correct treatment is B in my view. That I would not like to change. Dana, so this is subjective. There is one more question like this which I don't agree, that I'll put forth. Okay, only 2 questions I find there is a little dicey. Okay. Next, provision. Provision means they're asking from this perspective. See, provision is a known liability. Provision is a known liability. Like if somebody files a case against you and claims for a damages, then you know towards damages you need to pay some money. So known liability, provision is a known liability, but it is unknown amount. And when you have to pay the amount, the time you don't know. Unknown time you could say, or unknown timing. Unknown timing. When you have to pay, how much you have to pay on the provision, you don't know with certainty. You can only estimate it. Okay. But towards what you are paying provision, that you clearly know. So that on that basis, they have structured the sentence. They're saying provision is unknown liability. Is it right or no? Provision is a known liability. It is known liability, but with unknown amount and unknown timing. It is unknown liability again, they're saying. So these two cannot be the right option. C for known liability and its amount and due date are determinate. Determinate means certain. You know it. Do you know the amount and the due date? No, you don't know that. Yes, how much amount and when it will come, you don't know. That means it's a known liability, but its amount and due date are indeterminate, meaning unknown. Amount and the due date, meaning the time is unknown. When it will come, how much you have to pay, you can only measure with reliability, not with certainty. You can only estimate. So D for Delhi is the right option here. Okay. Fine. Balance sheet has 2 parts. They're saying one part is equity and liabilities. What is the other parts? Equity and liability over means what else remains? Asset, no. One part is equity and liabilities. Another part is obviously asset. D for Delhi is the right option. Very straightforward one. Okay. The maximum amount of capital a company can issue is what we refer to as what? The maximum amount of capital is authorized capital, also known as registered capital, also known as nominal capital. So C for Chennai is the right answer. 27th. If you see, 27 question almost we did. There were only one numerical question, sir. Such a shame, no? Correct? 26 question is theory driven. Okay, only one practical question we found so far. Okay. In fact, in this attempt, practical questions are very, very less. I don't know why, pa. Okay, very, very less. December 2019 paper, they had a lot many practical question. At least some 15 or 20 questions were practical. In this, very, very less they asked. I don't know why. Okay, nonetheless, no problem. So that means aram se easily in time you can complete this paper. With aram se yawning, taking your time and aram se ticking. Neil Limited, next question. They purchased a building worth 99 lakhs and they've issued debentures. 12% debentures of 100 each, meaning face value is 100, at a premium of 10% each. That means the issue price is how much, sir? Debenture ka face value is 100. You issued it at a premium of 10%. So 10% of 100 is 10 rupees, no? So the issue price is 110. One debentures, you rolled it out at 110. What will be the amount of premium they're asking? Okay. First, can you tell me the number of debentures given or issued? How many debentures did the company issue? So they have purchased asset worth 99 lakhs. That means they have to pay 99 lakhs in the form of debentures. And one debentures ka issue price was 110. I am not telling, they only told. So 99 lakhs divided by 110 if you do, we're going to get 90,000 debentures. So basically company has issued 90,000 debentures. What will be the premium, sir? What will be the premium? The company has issued 90,000 debentures. On one debenture, the premium element was 10 rupees. One debenture, the premium was 10 rupees. So 90,000 it will be 9 lakh rupees. So 9 lakh is the answer. C for Chennai. Got it? So this is the amount. If you want the journal entry for this will be building account debit 99 lakh rupees to 12% debenture account. Debenture account always shown at face value. 90,000 debentures. Each ka face value is 100 means total face value of the debenture is 90 lakh. That 9 lakh rupees is the premium element which goes off to securities premium account. Whether it is shares issued or debentures issued, the premium account is common, which is securities premium only. This is only for your reference. They only ask the premium element, which is 9 lakh, which we already decoded. Okay. The chief accountant of TT Limited, one company, gives you the following data regarding 6 segments. So this question is on segment reporting, A17. They've given various data. Segment ka asset, result and revenue. There are 10% test, no? So they are asking us to conduct that test and find out the reportable segments. Okay, first they have given asset test. So let's do 10% asset test. For this, what do? Find out the total of all the segments. All the segment ka assets you total, which we don't have to do. They've only done. The total assets of all the segments is 100, sir. Calculate 10% of this. How much are you going to get? 10. So, any segment which has a number of 10, any segment which has an asset base of 10 becomes a reportable segment as per asset test. Check which segment has an asset of 10 or more. All of them have 9. Only O has 55. Yes. Therefore, what? O is reportable segments. As per the asset test, only O is reportable. This is as per asset test. Next, 10% result test they have given. So let's conduct this. For results, you need to be a little careful. What do you need to find? First, you need to find out profit of all the segments. all the segments which made a profit. No, first find out that. Which all segment made a profit here? O, P and R. So you add that. O made a profit of 18, P made a profit of 10 and R made a profit of 10. All these are numbers are in crores. It is fine. So the total of this is, so 38 crores is the profit made by all the segments. All the profitable segments put together made a profit of 38 crores. Similarly, which all segment made a loss? Find out the total loss made by the loss making segments. So the loss, which all segments made a loss? M made a loss of 19, okay. N made a loss of 162. Q made a loss of 19. So if you add 138 plus 162, which will be 200. Yes. So 200 is a loss. It's a loss, correct? But for test perspective, what you have to do is first find out all profit making segments, which is 38, loss making segments, which is 200. Ignoring the signs, you need to compare these two and take the higher among these two, higher number. Ignoring the signs, which number is higher? Whether it is profit or loss, ignore this. Ignore the signs. Which is higher? 200, right? Profit or loss in absolute number you need to take, meaning ignoring the signs. So 200 is higher. So calculate 10% of 200. You're going to get 20. Yes. So whichever segment has a number 20, that number could be profit or loss, doesn't matter. Whichever segment has a profit of at least 20 or loss of at least 20 becomes a reportable segment as per result test, which is having 20. If you check, everything is less than 20. Only one is having 20 or more. That is N. It could be 20 of profit or 20 of loss, doesn't matter. So therefore, N is reportable segments as per the result wala test. Last test is 10% revenue test. Revenue test is easy. Add all the revenue of all the segments which they've already done, which is 300. So calculate total ka 10%, which is 30. So whichever segment has revenue of 30 crores or more, at least 30, becomes reportable. Which has a number of 30? Only M. Yes, rest everything number is below 30, So therefore, M is reportable segment. So what is the conclusion? It is not necessary that segment has to fulfill all the tests. If any segment satisfies at least one of the tests. Among these three, if it satisfies at least one of the tests, it becomes reportable. So O is satisfying one test, N is satisfying another, M is satisfying the other. Therefore, M, N and O are reportable segments because they are at least satisfying one of the tests. We had done this problem also in our class, right? I mean, similar one. M and O. So B for Bengaluru is the right option there for this particular question. Done. Market value added. How do you get market value added? MVA. That is nothing but market value of equity minus book value of equity. Yes. So that means answer according to you is A? No, hang on. There is also one more. Market value of equity is also present value of all future economic value added. Sir, how sir? I'll show you the chart. Market value added. No, there are two ways to find out. Market value added is nothing but market value of equity minus book value of equity. If you don't know the market value of equity, there is a certain way to find out that. What is that? That is nothing but take the book value of equity, add the present value of the future economic value added, EVA. See, market price is more than the book price. Yes, if the book price is 10 means market price may be 100. For 10 rupee worth of asset, why is the company market paying 100? Because the market feels currently the book value may be 10. As the company grows, it will earn more. So for that future earnings, market participants are willing to pay more now. Okay, hence the market value of the share generally will, for a growing company, will be higher than book value of equity. Yes. So that is one way to find out market value of equity. Take the book value of equity, add the present value of all the future economic value added. How much of a future may you're going to add up, no? You're going to earn. Take the present value of that. If you find out, that becomes your market value of equity. Using this equation, we can do something. What is that? Sir, market value of equity is nothing but what? Or market value added is nothing but what, sir? market value of equity minus book value of equity. So send this equation here. This is market value of equity. We are solving this equation. Market value of equity is this side. Book value of equity is on the other side. So if I send it this side, what it will become, sir? It will become minus book value of equity. Agreed? This is nothing but present value of future economic value added. Correct? Market value of equity minus book value of equity is nothing but what? Market value added, no? Market value added is nothing but these two come minus. So you can substitute, if you from market value of equity, if you deduct book value of equity, you're going to get nothing but market value added. That means what will be effectively the equation? Market value of equity is nothing but present value of future economic value added. Future mein how much ever company feels is the value addition, earnings mein, if you find out the present value of that only is your market value of equity. Okay. So they have used this equation and constructed this particular option. Now come back, see the question now, you will be able to understand it a little better. Market value added MVA, yes, it is market value of equity minus book value of equity. This is also right. But market value of equity is also equal to present value of all future equity. So this is also right. So the correct answer is what? Delhi, both A and B. So most of the students would have selected this. So hence for that per se, I'm marking this question as important. Okay, so D for Delhi is the right option here. So present value of future earnings, if you find out, that is also market value of equity only, or market value added only. So both are the right options here. So hence D for Delhi is the right answer. Clear? Okay. 31. What is the full form of CARO? CARO stands for Companies Audit Report Order. Where is that? Companies Audit Report Order. So C for Chennai is the right option there. 31. Done. 32. Cash payments to and on behalf of employee is an example for what activity? Operating activity, investing activity, financing activity. Salary paid to employees and all is part of the normal core operations of a business. No? So employee ka payment is an example of cash flow from operating activity. So A is the right answer there. Okay. AS 18 and AS 24. AS 18 on related party disclosures, AS 24 on discontinuing operation are not applicable in its entirety for which companies? For level 3 entities. You know, other than getting level 2 ka exemption, level 3 get 2 more exemptions we had discussed. That is, they get relaxation from AS 18 and 24 also. This is level 3. Non-corporate entities only get this extra benefits. Non-corporate entities which are classified as level 3. We had seen this. You will be able to find this in the charts. Okay. Done. AS 7, Accounting Standard 7, issued by Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, ICAI, deals with what? Does it deal with accounting policies? No. Revenue recognition? No. That is AS 9. Disclosure of accounting policies is AS 1. Revenue recognition is Accounting Standard 9. Government grant is Accounting Standard 12. Construction contract is AS 7. So C for Chennai is the right option on. AS 7 deals with construction contracts. Okay. 35. The Advisory Council is the formal advisory body to IASB, the trustees of IFRS Foundation Monetary Board, both A and B. This is both A and B. Remember this. This is one more extra fitting. Advisory Council is a formal advisory body to both these bodies. They give advice to IASB and to the trustees of IFRS Foundation. So D for Delhi. Both are the right option there. That is just a memory game you need to remember. One more extra fitting for chapter number 12. Extra memory thing you need to remember. Okay. Ind AS 11 requires contract revenue. Ind AS 11 talks about construction contracts. Okay. This is an outdated question actually now. Because Ind AS 11 and revenue recognition standard, Ind AS 18, now it has been replaced. Both this they have merged and they have issued new standard known as Ind AS 115. So this is an outdated question, but I don't know why they asked this. Because we no more have Ind AS 11, it's withdrawn. Now they formed Ind AS 115. But okay, let's run with it. Maybe next on attempts onwards, it may not come. So it requires contract revenue to be measured at net realizable value, fair value of consideration received or receivable, consideration received or receivable, none of the above. Fair value of consideration received or receivable. Meaning, if you're doing any contract, let's say contract price is 10 crore rupees. You took a contract to build a flyover. The contract price is 10 crores. But you feel you are dealing with this customer often. He will not pay 10 crores. Ideally, you feel, no? Okay. 9.5 crores only you will be able to recover from this customer, because your dealings with him in the past have indicated that at the end he will put us some tuna. He will tell, hey, business is problem, that this, he will give 101 reason and he'll put one tuna to us. Okay, we know this because of our dealing with him. Okay, even we have accepted it. We bill for 10 crores, but mentally we are prepared that 9.5 crores only we're going to get. It's like our classes. You are attending, but mentally you are sure 99% we will not understand, but with 1% hope you'll sit through saying, oh, at least I will understand, like that. Okay. So what AS7 says is, whatever consideration you feel you're going to receive, no, based on that only you recognize. Okay. So if you feel 9.5 crores is what you're going to receive, that is the fair value of consideration. If you receive, means recognize revenue only to the extent of that. So hence the answer is the fair value of consideration received or receivable. How much ever you feel you're going to receive or you're going to receive it, on that extent only you recognize the revenue. Because one condition was there, no, there should not be any uncertainty in collection. If there is any uncertainty in collection, to that extent do not recognize the revenue. So it is just a borrowed principle. Hence, this is the right answer. Okay, B for Bengaluru. Okay, this question I would say is important because it came in December 2019 also. It repeated in December 2020 also. Same question. Share option outstanding account will be shown in balance sheet under the head reserves and surplus. Whenever you give some shares to the employees, right, you'll have to pass one journal entry. As per the journal entry, if I have to say from Ind AS perspective, you will pass the journal entry as share based payment account debit to share based payment reserve account to SBP reserve account. So this is on Ind AS perspective. If you pass the journal entry from accounting standard perspective, the journal entry you will pass is employment or employee benefit expense account debit, okay, to, or you can call it as employment benefit expense account debit to share option outstanding account, you can call it, or employee stock option outstanding account. This is a journal entry recommended as per the guidance note of ICI, meaning those companies who are following accounting standard, no, they will pass this particular journal entry. Those guys who are following Ind AS will pass this entry. You don't have to worry about that. They are asking this credit, that employee stock option outstanding, this SBP reserve and all, where will you show in the balance sheet? It has credit balance, no, where will you show? It's a reserve only. You show it under reserves and surplus. Just remember this, that is sufficient. We don't have to go into the accounting treatment of all this because they will not ask you all that. So this share option outstanding account gets reflected on the balance sheet under the head reserves and surplus. That is a B for Bengaluru is the right option for that. Okay. Forfeited shares can be reissued. After forfeiting, you can reissue those shares. No? At what price can you reissue? Can you reissue at par? Yes. At premium? Yes. At discount? Yes. Subject to certain limit. You can also give it a discount. That means which is the right option? You can go for any of the option. So D for Delhi is the option. Any of them is an acceptable one. Alright. 39th. Saket Limited purchased a machinery worth 1,20,000. Okay. And he also purchased a building worth 2 lakh rupees from Rashmi Limited for an agreed purchase consideration of 3 lakh. Sir, what is the total net assets? The value of that is how much? You purchase machinery worth 1,20,000, building worth 2 lakh. That means the total value is 3,20,000. But how much did you pay to settle? You paid only purchase consideration only how much? 3 lakh. The worth is 3,20,000, but you paid only 3 lakh to buy out this. So the company, the Saket Limited, did they make a profit on this deal or did they make a loss? Did they make a profit on this deal or loss? Profit. So revenue profit or capital profit? This is a revenue profit or capital profit? Capital profit. All the capital profit will go where? To capital reserve, right? That is what they are asking. How much amount will you transfer into capital reserve? Profit is 20,000, no? 3,20,000 worth of asset. You sold it or you bought it only for 3 lakh. So you made a profit of 20,000. That will be transferred off to capital reserve. So B for Bengaluru is the right option here. We'll finish this question, then take a break. Okay? I mean, this series. Very straightforward ones only. That's the reason. It will not take much time. Ind AS 34, which talks about interim financial reporting, requires the following in the contents of interim financial report in addition to what is required under previous standard AS 25. AS 25 says you have to give these as financial statements. Ind AS requires one extra statement. What in all AS 25 requires is, if you're preparing interim financial statement means what, sir? Any financial statements prepared for a period lesser than 12 months. Yes. If you're preparing financial statements for a period less than 12 months, we call such a financial statement as interim financial statement. We discussed this when we covered AS 25. Now, as per AS 25, you need to prepare balance sheet, P&L, cash flow statement, notes, etc., etc. However, as per Ind AS, one other than having condensed balance sheet, condensed P&L, condensed cash flow statement, you also need to give something known as SOC. Remember, I discussed this statement of changes in equity. Only Ind AS has a requirement of SOC. AS does not have. So this is the right option. So why is it condensed? See, condensed means you are preparing for an interim financial statement, means it is for a period lesser than 12 months. No, that period of, since it is lesser than 12 months, we call that as a condensed P&L, condensed balance sheet, etc., etc. Hence they use the term condensed, since it is for a period lesser than 12 months. So AS 25 requires only these three. Ind AS requires one extra statement, that is also it requires statement of changes in equity, because statement of changes in equity, SOC, is also part of financial statement as per Ind AS. So this Delhi is the right option as per this. Okay. Shareholder value added is nothing but what, sir? Shareholder value added is nothing but NOPAT. From NOPAT, if you deduct the cost of capital of all the providers of finance, from the net operating profit, which we also refer to as economic profit. From the economic profit, if you deduct all the providers of finance ka return, what remains, we call it as shareholders equity. Yes. So that's what they're asking in equation. So shareholders equity is nothing but economic profit of a business, that NOPAT, minus minimum return required by all the providers of finance. Yes, this is the right option. Second one, minimum required by shareholders only. No, this cannot be the right answer. Okay, requirement of, you have to deduct the minimum return of all the providers of finance. So hence A, alpha is the right option there. Once we have found the right answer, other things we need not actually debate also. Okay. In case of financial enterprise, okay, the interest received on debentures is what activity? For a financial enterprise, interest received, dividend received, interest paid, all these are part of their operations. So it is part of their operating activity. A, very straightforward question. Yes. But however, if it is a dividend paid, for a financial enterprise, dividend paid is still a financing activity only. Okay. Only interest paid, interest received, dividend received. These three are part of their operations. We have anyway done enough questions on that. Okay. GAAP. GAAP stands for Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. So which one has that? Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. A. A is the full form of GAAP. Excuse me. Dash are a set of accounting standards notified by MCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, which are converged with International Financial Reporting Standard. What has got converged into IFRS, sir? We discussed this previous session only. Ind AS, yes, Indian Accounting Standards, Ind AS. We have not adopted IFRS. We have converged to IFRS, meaning we have taken IFRS, made some changes where we have required. Hence, we say India has converged to IFRS. And the Indian version of IFRS we refer to as Ind AS or Indian Accounting Standards. Okay, so B for Bengaluru is the right option for 44. Awesome. Public Interest Committee, PIC, established by IPSASB, International Public Sector Accounting Standard Board. This full form we already covered. Consists of individuals from what and all domain? It consists of individuals from IMF, International Monetary Fund, International Organization of Supreme Audit Institutions, Organization of Economic Cooperations and Development, all of the above. Sir, whenever they say committee has which members, no? Committee is always diversified. Even if you don't remember these sort of constituents, always select all of the above as the right answer. That is one trick. Because whenever you form a committee, you want the committee, especially international committee and all, it will be as diverse as possible. So they will have members from almost every other body. So select the all of the above, that will be the right answer. Even if you don't know, you can take a chance there. Okay, even if not this question, something else also they frame and say what are the constituents. There is a high chance that all of the above will be the right answer for that. One simple trick. Okay. So all of the above is the right answer for this. Done. No issue of bonus shares shall be made by the company out of what? They're saying from what you cannot give bonus shares. Free reserve. Can you give bonus shares out of free reserves like general reserve, P&L, etc.? Yes, you can give. Can you give bonus shares from securities premium? Yes, section 52 allows it. Can you give bonus out of CRR, capital redemption reserve? Yes, CRR has only one purpose, that is to give away bonus shares. But that means what is the remaining options? C, that is revaluation of asset. Whenever you revalue the asset, you're going to get something known as revaluation reserve. Can you give bonus out of that? No. Revaluation reserve cannot be utilized for bonus issue because Accounting Standard 10, Ind AS 16, which talks about property, plant and equipment, both prohibit this. So this is not this is the answer because that cannot be utilized to give away bonus. That's what they asked. Which cannot be utilized to give away bonus shares? Fair enough. 47. The Association of International Certified Professional Accountants launched in 2017, bringing together the expertise and capabilities of which two bodies? So recently, two bodies got merged, I told. One is AICPA and CIMA. These two bodies, American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, these two bodies are merged. Okay. So hence this is the right option. A for alpha is the right option there. Okay. Cool. Preliminary expense is dash asset. Current asset, fixed asset, tangible asset, fictitious asset. We say preliminary expense, deferred revenue expense, discount on issue of shares, debentures, all these to be fictitious asset because they are not really an asset because you are not getting any benefit from it. But you are forced to show it under asset. In fact, you don't even show it under current asset. You show all this under non-current assets, if you remember. Preliminary expense and all, no, you'll write it off over more than 1 year. Hence, all this you show it under non-current assets also. These are fictitious assets, meaning you are not getting any benefit from that asset. Since you are transferring those expenses over 5 years, 10 years, etc., those accounts have debit balance. Hence, you show it under non-current asset. But in reality, they are not any assets because you are not getting any benefit from them. All the benefit that you have to receive, you have already received. Just it has to be transferred to P&L. That transfer process is pending. So time being, you show it as non-current asset. Hence, all this we call it as fictitious assets. So D for Delhi is the right option. Done. Okay, 49. Ind AS 113. Ind AS 113 talks about fair value measurement. Ind AS 113 or corresponding number is IFRS 13. Both of this talk about the fair value measurement A. Yes, great. Somebody looks like they've already memorized that. That is nice to know. Cool. 50. The words to balance brought forward, by balance brought forward, meaning brought down, are recorded in particulars column. In the ledger of particulars column, you will write by balance brought down, to balance brought down and all. No? What when you do that, at the time of posting of what it will come? Compound entries, opening entry, closing entry, adjusting entry. When will you write buy balance brought down, to balance brought down and all, sir? Only when for opening balances. Yes, there is nothing but opening balance, right? So when you're passing an opening entry, see, first thing you do when you start a business is all the previous year ka closing balance, you have to bring it to the current year. That happens by passing a journal entry. That we call it as opening entry. Okay? So that's all it is. That's how a ledger will have opening balances. All the previous year ka balance, you carry forward it to the current year by passing one entry that is known as opening entry. So hence B for Bengaluru is the right option there. Okay. 5 years ago, this is a keyword. 5 years ago, X Limited had issued 12% debentures. This is not a question mark. This should be wherever this question mark, substitute with rupees. Okay. Rupee symbol does not come in PDF sometimes. Instead of rupee symbol, it becomes question mark. Okay. Alright. So it is 12% rupees 30 lakh. Redeemable in 6 annual installments. That means what is the term of these debentures, sir? You have issued these debentures for a term of 6 years. Correct? So these debentures are redeemed within 6 years, and they told 5 years ago you have issued the debenture. That means currently you are in which year, sir? Currently we are in 6th financial year or 6th year. Yes, because 5 years already has passed. We are in 6th year. That means you have to redeem these debentures, whose value they are saying is 30 lakh rupees. Okay. These debentures will be shown in the balance sheet of a company under which heading? Under non-current asset, non-current liability, current assets, current liability. What do you think? Non-current assets. Be careful. Read that line again. Sir, you are in 6th year now. You will redeem the debentures. That means you will redeem these debentures within 12 months. No, sir. You will redeem off these debentures within 12 months. Something which is payable within 12 months from the balance sheet date. Don't we call that as a current liability? Something which is redeemable from 12 months within the balance sheet date. Yes. So it is a current liability, right? First year you will show it as non-current liability, but you are in 6th year now. So this is due for redemption. Okay. That means within 12 months from the balance sheet date, you will pay off the debenture holders. This liability will be settled. So for current year, it will be shown in the balance sheet at current liability if you have not redeemed. So it is due for redemption. No. Yeah. It's possible that your financial statement is getting closed on 31st March 2021. But the redemption date is happening on 30th June 2021. Okay. So on the balance sheet date, you are not redeeming the debentures. It will get redeemed another maybe 3-4 months down the line. Hence, when you are preparing the balance sheet, this debenture will have a balance. Since that debenture is going to get redeemed any which way within 12 months from balance sheet date, when you're preparing this balance sheet, these debentures will be shown as a current liability, because that is one of the feature of current liability, something which is settled within 12 months from the balance sheet date. So Delhi is the right option there. No confusion, I think now. Those of you who said non-current liability, I think you're okay. Okay, awesome. 52. The Institute of Chartered Accountants in Australia and New Zealand, okay, amalgamated to become one body. What is the name of the body, sir? CAANZ. Yes, CAANZ ka full form is Chartered Accountants, Australia and New Zealand. Yes, we did this. So alpha is the right option there. 52 is A. Next, 53. Loan from banks repayable on demand will be classified in balance sheet as what? Short-term borrowing, long-term borrowing, other current liability, other long-term liability. Sir, it is repayable on demand. That means whenever bank asks, you need to pay off. Okay, can you show it as a long-term liability? Long-term liability means that which is getting settled within after 12 months from balance sheet date. This can be settled on demand. That means it cannot be a long-term borrowing. This is a borrowing, right? You have taken a loan from bank. So it has to be what? A short-term borrowing only. Okay. So it will be shown under the main heading current liability. Under current liability, there is something known as short-term borrowings. There you will show this on-demand loans. Fine. Okay, so A for alpha is this. So what if it is more than 12 months? It is not, because they're saying in demand, If it is on payable on demand, that means whenever bank asks, you need to repay. So such on demand, some loans which are repayable on demand, we never classify it as non-current liability. It always will be classified as current liability only. Okay. Only if the period is more than 12 months and if it is not on payable on demand, those two features, then you can think about classifying it as, or then you can classify it as a long-term borrowing. Good question. Hope I've answered. Done. 54. Okay. Done. X Limited has 5,000 AC in stock. So they are AC dealers. They buy and they sell AC. So currently they have about 5,000 quantities of air conditionings with them in their inventory as stock on 31st March 2019 at the end of the year. The cost of one AC, each AC is 10,000 rupees. Sir, we know, no, sir. Inventory should be valued at cost or net realizable value, whichever is lower. Yes. Inventory should be valued at cost or net realizable value, whichever is lower. They're asking you a question on inventory valuation. So two components we need to find out. One is the cost. How many ACs do you have? 5,000. What is the cost of one AC? 10,000. So if you calculate, you're going to get about 500 lakhs. You're going to get this to be 500 lakhs. Full form, I'm representing in lakhs, full value. So you're going to cost is 500 lakhs. Next, net realizable value. Let's see what this is. There is a firm commitment of sale of 1,000 ACs entered by the company or by the company in April 2019 at 15,000 per AC. We already received an order for how many ACs? 1,000. We already received the order. That's a firm order. Okay, we have already signed and all with some buyer saying we will supply these AC in April at a price of 15,000 per AC. That means you can calculate this net realizable value for two components. What two components? You have 5,000 ACs, no sir? In that, for 1,000 ACs, you already know at what price you're going to sell and how much you're going to realize. How much will you realize on this 1,000 ACs? Firm commitment ka value is 15,000, yes? So on these 1,000 ACs, you will be able to recover 150 lakh. Not 15, 150 lakhs, okay? So that is the net realizable value on 1,000 ACs. But you have how many ACs in your inventory? You have 5,000 ACs. However, the general price of the AC at year end amounts to rupees 9,500 AC per AC. So the general price is 9,500. So for the other 4,000 ACs, okay, how much can you realize, sir? They're saying the general price, the general selling price is 9,500. Yes. Net realizable value is nothing but estimated selling price minus estimated selling cost minus further completion cost, if any. Further completion cost they have not given, so we can ignore. Selling expense also they have not given, so we can ignore. We only need to take the sale value, estimated selling price. So if you calculate this 4,000 into 9,500, you are going to get 380 lakhs. So NRV on 1,000 ACs is 150 lakhs. On the remaining 4,000 ACs is 380 lakhs. So what is the total NRV, sir? 530 lakhs. Manageable, everybody, or any confusion in this? Cost is 500, net realizable value is 530 lakhs. Okay. Done. So how should the inventory be valued at? They're asking that only. Calculate the value of closing stock. Closing stock will be valued at cost or net realizable value, whichever is lower. So cost is 500 lakhs, NRV is 530 lakhs. Which is lower? 500 lakhs. Have they given any option of 500 lakhs? No. That means either you should select none of the above. But, let me give you a disclaimer here. The guided answer given is 480 lakh, which I don't agree. This is the guidance answer. This is the guidance answer, okay, given as per the website. But in my opinion, the answer should be 500 lakhs. Inventory should be valued at 500 lakhs. Inventory, okay, if you want, I can write it down here. Inventory to be valued at 500 lakhs. Okay, fine. So you should either select none of the above. But how they arrived at 480, maybe it is a typo. They wanted to type out 500 lakh, by mistake they typed 480. I don't know what they have done there. Okay, how they have arrived, I have absolutely no idea. Alright, but in my opinion, that is wrong. Okay, I believe that this 500 lakh should be the value of the inventory. Okay, fine. This is one more question where I have a different opinion when it comes to this particular paper. Two questions, I don't agree with the guided answer. Got it? So my view, I would like to keep the same, but this one, I mean, 480, how they arrived is really a mystery. Okay, let me also figure it out. Okay, I'll have to think about some permutations and combinations. Fine, but in my opinion, this is the right answer, sir. This I will not change. Okay, because this question is there in CA final also. I've done this. Okay, so in fact, forget about CA final or this thing. Standard uses this terms. Net realizable value, how you calculate is this. This is how we work out. Okay, so I like to keep to the same answer there. That I will not like to change. So this, according to me, we'll see. They should have ideally given marks for this. Typo, according to me, it's a typo question. Done. Next. Dash prescribes the basis of presentation of general purpose financial statement to ensure comparability both with entities' financial statement of previous period and with financial statement of other entities. Full drama they're telling. Ind AS 1 talks about how you should prepare financial statement. So that's all, sir. How you should prepare financial statement. No, Ind AS 1 guides. Okay. So this is the answer. Ind AS 1 is the right answer. Okay. Alpha. Okay. Summa, that is a drama they're telling. That's it. Okay. In the balance sheet of the company, which item shall be sub-classified as secured and considered good, unsecured considered good, doubtful? For what component will you say how much is secured, how much is unsecured, how much is good, how much is bad? For all the loans and for all the debtors, there is this requirement. Meaning, if you have taken any loan, okay, or if you have issued any loan, you should tell how much of that loan is secured, how much is unsecured. If you are having a debtor, then you need to show how much of the debtor is good and bad. You need to give out the disclosure. So for long-term and short-term trade receivables, you need to roll out. For long-term loans and advances, you need to give that disclosure. For short-term loans and advances also, you need to tell or give out all this. Meaning if 100 rupees loan if you have given, you need to tell how much of this loan is secured and secured by what asset and how much of this is unsecured. Like this information you need to roll out. This is Companies Act requirement. Even Ind AS requires this. So the answer is all of the above. For all these components, you need to give out that secured, unsecured wala extra disclosure. So D for Delhi is the right option. Okay. So some 3 or 4 questions will come as bouncer guys. Don't worry about that. Fair enough. If it's an exam, means some professional examination, some questions you need to think of it as out of things also. Out of the box they will give you. Don't have to freak out because of that. Majority of them see how it is revolving around that. Okay. Always play with that. Manageable. Okay. So don't freak out over 1 or 2 questions we didn't do only anta. That we can expect in every attempt. Okay. MCQ paper means something or the other, some bouncer will always come. And it is true in every professional paper, not just CS. Okay. External Reporting Board, XRB, is there in which country? It's there in A, New Zealand. So 57 is A per Apple. Done. 58. The total capital of subsidiary company is 3 lakh rupees. Out of which 2,40,000 is owned by holding company. Holding company's share in subsidiary ka share capital, they are saying is 2,40,000. That means it is 80%, no? Because 3 lakh ka 80% only is 2,40,000. Yes. That means indirectly they are telling holding company owns 80%. That implies that minority interest is holding 20%. Given also, what is the amount of minority interest if percentage of outside shareholder is 20%? So minority is the share percentage they are asking, sir. Total share capital of the subsidiary company is 3 lakh. Minority interest owns a 20% means what is minority share in share capital? 60,000. Yes, no. In 3 lakh, if 240 is holding company, means you don't have to even calculate. You can just do 3 lakh minus 2,40,000 and get the same to be 60. Yes. So minority ka claim is B for Bengaluru, 60,000. That's all. Okay, now done. Profit on revaluation of asset will be shown as dash in consolidated balance sheet. General reserve, no. Goodwill, no. Capital reserve, debatable. Actually, when you revalue an asset, you should show it as a revaluation reserve. But revaluation reserve is also a capital reserve only. So in that regard, guidance answer is saying B. So if I was evaluator, even D if you select also, mark should be given because that goes to a specific reserve known as revaluation reserve. Okay. So even if students select none of the above, they should have given the answer according marks according to me. But revaluation reserve is also a capital reserve. So in that opinion, even guidance answer, I wouldn't say is wrong. So this is a guided answer. I think yes, it is. Yeah. So B for Bengaluru also can be selected. But my opinion, none of the above would have been a better one. They would have given that because it goes to revaluation reserve. But this is fine. This is somewhat acceptable in my view. Fine. Okay. The last question of our December 20 paper was 60. The board of directors of the company who has to form a corporate social responsibility committee, CSR committee, shall make sure that the company spends in every financial year minimum dash percentage of the average net profit of the 3 years. How much should be the CSR spend is what they're asking, sir. CSR spend should be at least 2% of the average profit of the last 3 years. Yes. So the answer is 2%, B for Bengaluru. That's it. Okay. So with this, all the corporate accounting questions that came in December 2020 paper we have covered. Thank you.